Hey, what's going on there, folks? Good afternoon. It is the Earthmaster back here on this Saturday, May 20th, 2023. It's about 11:58 a.m. here, so still a couple minutes in the morning time along the West Coast. Last night, started off here with solar weather, by the way. Last night we had an unexpected G2 class storm kick up, which sent auroras down into some of the northern tier states. Also, this image here being taken by Dan Bush of Albany, Missouri. Beautiful image of some red auroras being produced there in the sky. Apparently this was probably caused by a near miss CME, one of many that left the sun last week on path slightly over or off the sun-earth line, south pointing, that is. So that allowed, basically the interplanetary magnetic field tipped south slightly, allowing some of that solar wind stream to flow into the planet. And of course, that lowers the defenses of the solar wind, which in returns, we get this beautiful imagery, which was, again, down to some of the northern tier states. It looks like, far south is Missouri. Current conditions here on the sun. Make sure I got the latest imagery, which I do. We are crackling with M flares once again, as you can see on the GOES X-ray flux chart. Almost had a X flare again. Looks like this one coming in overnight, a pretty strong M flare. I do think there is a strong possibility of seeing an X flare here soon from these sunspots that are crackling with some large M flares. As you can see listed up here on the map, on the graph, this is the past 48 hours of M2 and above for M flares. We've had at least 8 of them, with the largest one so far being that one I mentioned on the chart in M8.9. If you look here at the numbers on the bottom, 3311, that is the name of the sunspot region. That's going to be this bad boy right up here that is crackling with some heavy-duty flares currently. Notice the complex structure here within this regional sunspot, allowing it to be fairly complex and unstable. And this thing is turning into view of the Earth here over the next couple days, and it will be directly lined up here as far as the Earth-Sun plane goes eventually. So with this type of setup here, we could have a possible X flare being produced. It's gotten close, so I would definitely watch this one pretty closely here in the coming hours and days as it progresses across the disk here. Make sure I have my bells off, which I do. That regional sunspot that's been facing Earth here over the past week or so, almost off the northwestern limb of the sun, has grown dramatically, though. This one poses a threat for some flaring as well, but I don't think that's going to be geo-effective as it furthers its course away from the visible disk. Regional sunspot down here it's fairly large, but it doesn't look as unstable as this area up here. I think this is the one we're going to have to watch. Again, that's going to be 3311. The very complex structure in that sunspot harbors a beta delta class, and this is the one that poses a strongest threat for an X flare at 25% chance, so somewhat elevated. I wouldn't doubt it if we see that today. We're currently seeing some flaring going on the UV filter ray. That's going to be the sunspot up here. Notice the bright imagery. Looks like we're starting to maybe get an upper C flare. We'll see if that turns into an M flare or not. Let's see, current flare activity, upper C flare category. And again, these things can just pop off in a matter of seconds. So we'll continue to watch that throughout the day today. 99% chance for a C flare, M flare at 55, X flare again elevated at 25% chance. Proton event going up as well, just due to the magnetic energy that's out here on the visible disk of the sun. There is that G2 storm that blasted in last night unexpectedly up into the KP index above 5. Sometimes these things happen. Sometimes they're not forecasted. Sometimes they are forecasted and they don't happen. So it's just one of those things here with space weather. It's very complex in terms of forecasting. It doesn't look like we're going to see anything, at least according to the forecast here. You never know what the sun might have in store, but as far as auroras right now, only looks like very minimal conditions here with a KP index of 3 to 4 over the next couple nights. But again, that's all subject to change depending on what may be blasted off our way. I find it kind of odd because some of these CMEs that were produced days ago were pointed well away from the Earth. So I don't even see how we could have a near miss, as they mentioned there on the spaceweather.com site. And these sunspots that were facing us here over the past week didn't produce hardly any CMEs. So it's just some weird stuff going on out there in space. All right, let's see. What else do we have here? So yeah, definitely, I think this sunspot's worthy of watching pretty closely. 3311. I'll be watching that throughout the day today. All right, earthquake activity. Of course, we had things ramping up yesterday again with another large earthquake here into the Loyalty Islands area. This 7.1 comes just days after a 7.7 struck the same area. And this here was yesterday, a late afternoon time frame for the 7.1. Following that 7.1, we got some more larger aftershock activity in the 6 range, 6.5. So this is definitely rather unusually large aftershock sequences occurring here. And a lot of times, this can turn into something more powerful in this type of setup here. I remember seeing something similar in the Japan region back in 2011 before they had that 9-pointer. There has been no history of 9-pointers here in this area. 8.1 up here back in 1920 or so, closer to the Port Vila area. But then again, it's who's to say that we're not going to witness something that really hasn't been seen yet. This is a very complex structured plate dynamic here. Got a little horseshoe bend. It's a subduction zone right here, just about Port Vila south. A couple different subduction zones up here around the Santa Cruz Mountains or Santa Cruz Islands as well. So that's it's a very complex structure. You can see this thing being warped and torn apart far as the general plate movement goes in terms of plate tectonics. This is all moving towards the west-northwest and generally putting quite a bit of strain here on this area. So continue to watch this region here for some further activity. Following yesterday's events, looks like mostly 4s and 5s overnight, with the last one being a 4.8 about 9 o'clock this morning my time or so, 23 kilometers deep. So still seeing some activity. A look at the total tally here of earthquakes in this sequence is 63 large earthquakes. I call 4 to 5s. I guess those are moderate, and then you get up in the upper 5s and 6s and 7s. Those are all obviously large. 7.7, the main quake so far. Continue to watch this as things are just kind of evolving here in this area. Any changes here since then? Well, looking at the map, we did have one 4.9 yesterday. This took place, I think, just before the subsequent 7.1 there. So it appears to be stuck in this area, at least as far as the momentum and the pressure transfer here goes. Not a whole lot of activity going up across the Papua New Guinea area, at least according to the USGS. And it looks to be the same here on the EMSC model. Getting a little cluster of quakes across the Java Trench northward into the eastern edge there of the Himalayas. Also the Philippines region seeing some earthquake movement as well. A lot of this older activity from yesterday in the darker color rings. But the latest, a 3.0, striking just off of the Philippines area. Further up north into the Kuril Kamchatka and the Japan Trench. A couple smaller earthquakes there being listed. See what we got here. The latest one in this area, a earthquake just south of Tokyo, Japan, 4.6, 83 kilometers deep. Here into the portion of the Japan Trench, it looks like. Also a, well, this one here was yesterday. This one stirred up before the activity down south. This is a very deep earthquake there into the Izu Trench. Very minimal surface adjustment up here, but got to remember this plate here, the Pacific plate, is ginormous. It's all scooting towards the west, well, northwest direction here. And technically, a lot of the activity, the momentum, so to speak, should bunch up over here along the western Pacific, up against the Philippine plate here along the Mariana Trench. But so far, really not seeing any obvious sign of extra activity going on here. But we'll continue to watch this zone. Unless something's major set up, about ready to happen down here, we'll definitely watch this. See what else we have across the region there. The Aleutian Trench, fairly quiet up here. See what we have. Nothing really being reported up here across the Alaska region, 2.5 and above. Only a handful of quakes out there. Excuse me. Goodness, somebody lost my voice there for a second. That's not a good thing. Northern California, one earthquake here yesterday in the Prattville area, Lake Almanor. This has since died down. Most of the movement here across Northern California relatively quiet for now. I know we didn't check the tremor yesterday, but it looks like 84 epicenters of tremor into the Oregon area. This is about the southern end of the Cascadia subduction zone, so not a big event. No subsequent earthquake activity. Of course, if there is any, probably won't be reported until Monday morning, unless it's above a certain magnitude, probably 2.5 and above. The rest of California here, a little spotty activity across the Ridgecrest area down here north of the Garlock Fault shear zone. Getting a little swarming here off the Elsinore Fault south of Marietta. Nothing major, just a little small handful of quakes. This is actually the Palomar Mountain Observatory area. This area has seen some strange swarms in the past here, and specifically last year and the year before. It's been quiet though for the past few months, it seems like. But they did have a 3.6 that was followed up by a couple smaller aftershocks in that area. The rest of the country here, Oklahoma, a couple scattered earthquakes out there. North of Chickasha, it looks like. Let's see what we got for satellite view. Speckled dots out here, right? Those little ones are oil pumping operations. Quite a few of them. I was just out here not last week, but the week before, and there's quite a few of these all over the place with tanks on them. Tanks, not war tanks, but oil holding tanks. Quite a few wastewater disposal facilities out there as well. A little bit of activity across the Canada region this morning, it looks like, just outside of Ottawa. Perth, Canada, 2.1. Yesterday we did have some activity there in northern Ohio near the Wallbridge area, a little 2.6. Puerto Rico region, mostly smaller microquake activity here across the region today. In the Middle America Trench, let's see here. Got a 4.0 off the coast of Mexico, and also some smaller 3s down into the, looks like the Nicaragua area down in this section. Nothing major going on there today, but a slight uptick. South America region, I'm getting some deeper activity here off the coast of Peru. It looks like it's on land. Chile area, 4.6, 68 kilometers deep. And some deeper movement here underneath the Argentina area. As you can see here in the mountains, quite a few deeper earthquake activity movements there. And a little odd earthquake activity down here at the very southern end of the Chile Trench. Got a 5.0 and a 4.6. All this activity occurring afterwards of this movement here to the west. So a little bit of plate adjustment going on down here across the southern portion of the world, it seems like. Who knows what's going on down in Antarctica. Just don't really hear too much about earthquake activity down there. Not a whole lot of stations to monitor. I'm sure there is some, but I'm sure there's earthquake activity. We just don't really know too much about it. Don't hear too much about it. All right, let's see. The Big Island of Hawaii. Anything going on here? Any adjustments going on since the activity yesterday down south? Looks like mostly twos and whatnot here across the Kilauea Volcano area, all occurring roughly between 2 and -3 kilometers, -0.3 kilometers there, so very shallow earthquake for that one, but most of the activity is fairly deep in this region. Let me see what we got for the hazard notification system for the HVO Kilauea Daily Update. This was put out today. Currently not erupting, and no active lava has been observed since March 7th. So summit tilt meters are showing gradual inflation. Overall inflation at the summit is still higher than conditions preceding the January 5th summit eruption. So that means stuff is building up down there. That means we're getting a buildup of magma below. Let me see what we got here for the tilt meters out here. See if any of these are working. Hopefully. Maybe. Shoot, that includes a lot of the earthquakes. I know some of these are working out here. That one obviously is not. I don't want to spend a lot of time looking for these. Oh, that was UWD. I'm looking for UWE. There we go. Past 2 days. That's obviously still some tilt activity. Here it shows the last month or so. Notice that gradual uptick here in the inflation of Kilauea Volcano. I would say definitely pretty soon. Who knows how long it's going to take for this thing to build enough steam to produce some more eruptive status. But I'm sure this year we could see that kick back up. Some of these other stations are not working. Seismograph station, there's a lot of the activity occurring there at Kilauea Volcano. Quite a bit of not aftershock, but earthquake activity. And I'm sure a lot of this is in relation to what's going on below the ground there with the movement of magma below. Let's check out the GeoNet servers and see what we have going on here across the region of New Zealand. 4.1 looks like being reported yesterday. South Island, north edge of South Island, in between, take your pick. Over the past couple hours here, mostly smaller microquakes here. There was, of course, a deeper quake up along the Kermadec Trench, it looks like. 4.9. Did not see that showing up here, did we? Unless they're talking about way up north, maybe into the area of, it doesn't look like it though on the map here. It just kind of shows it up here along the Kermadec Trench. So yeah, hard to say if that 4.9 is going to show up here or not. Yesterday's 7.1 showed up fairly nicely. Although not as strong as that 7.7 did the day before. Either way, that's going to be the earthquake. There's the three-pointer. Showed up here on the north edge of the South Island area. Aside from that, things just kind of calm currently, it looks like, across New Zealand for the most part. Continue to watch that. Again, I do have quite a few stations built up and monitoring the activity, although none specifically at the at this area. I'll have to look and see if I can find one. Kind of hard to get a few of these stations to show up here. There's many of them across this area. Some that's not even listed, so I'll have to bring up the a few stations. Let's see if this one's working here. Fiji. Sometimes I can get Fiji to work. It doesn't look like it though now. All right, folks. Let's see. Let's double check the weather here. See what's going on. Getting into finals in school here, so I got a couple more essays I got to do today, and a couple more final exams that are due next week, and then that's it. I'm not taking any summer classes. I'm going to enjoy my summer, and then I'll jump back into it in the fall with some more geology classes. See if I can't get my degree up there a little bit as far as the status goes. All right, marginal risk for severe weather today. Nothing major going on. Looks like just general thunderstorm activity across the Intermountain West. Wow, slight risk for severe weather up here in the portions of Idaho and Oregon. That's a little odd. No tornado threat there for tomorrow, but looks like mainly wind and hail event for those folks up there. A little odd. Most of the time we'll see that down here in the southern plains, but it looks like they're taking a little break for right now. Here's your thunderstorm forecast throughout the day today. Good chance across the desert southwest here. 70% chance of seeing some thunderstorms out there, but hey, they're going to get some rain, so that's all good news. And yeah, it looks like that will continue into the night there down in New Mexico and Colorado, and even down into the desert here of Southern California. Looks like Death Valley area may be getting in on some thunderstorm activity throughout the day today. All right, folks, just stay safe out there. We'll continue to watch this flaring. It's almost like a continuous flare currently taking place from this sunspot up here. Sometimes when that happens, we get the big ones. We get these X flares kicking off. So again, we have a 25% chance for an X flare, and I think that is a likely candidate to seeing that. And again, it's getting ready to rotate here into direct view. Right now, I think if anything were to blast off, we would definitely be geo-effective if there was a massive CME. So we'll just continue to watch that and report back on it. Have a good day, folks. Enjoy your weekend. We'll catch you guys back here a little bit later tonight. Take care.